The two or three things are, we're going to talk about COVID first, and then I'm going to have Ben Borgmeyer, who is the new Democratic Director of Elections. He's going to talk to us about what to expect tomorrow on Election Day. And then I'm going to come back, we're going to talk a little bit about rental and mortgage assistance. So those are kind of the top topics, and then we're going to take your questions after that. So thanks for being with us. Yesterday, the city of St. Louis reported 42 new COVID cases. Now that is significantly less than we had been reporting every day for the last week. We're glad about that, but also not putting too much stock in it because we know how these numbers pop around. I mean, one day last week we reported 175 cases. So we're happy there were only 42 cases yesterday, but because of the difficulty in reporting and how we get the information from the state and how we get the information from labs, we're just taking that as a one-day total, not any sort of a trend. Let me also say that yesterday there were 242 people in the hospital. That's down a little bit from the day before. And then there were 72 people in ICU yesterday. That's up. It's up 5 from the day before and up as many as 10 from earlier last week. And then 34 people on ventilators yesterday, and that's also up from, like, last Friday was 29, 27. So those two numbers are going up a bit. Now, good news is only 32 people were admitted to the hospital and 21 were discharged. So these numbers are, other than the 42 new cases, which is excellent, these hospital numbers are ticking up a little bit, which of course is what we have been concerned would happen because we've seen the increase in cases. I can also tell you that we are continuing to see a lot of the cases being folks in their 20s. This is, let me make sure I'm looking at the right thing here. Yes. Over the last 2 weeks, 26% of the cases have been people in their 20s, and 19.4, let's call it 20%, have been people in their 30s, and then about 9% people under 20. So when you take a look at that, we still are continuing to see new cases increase the most among folks that are in their 20s and then 30s after that. Folks that are in their, let me look for the last month here, folks that are in their 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, 40s are 13%, 50s are 14%, 60s are 8%, 70s are 4%. So as I said on Friday, I think I've said this a few times now, the older folks, I put myself in that category, but the older folks have gotten the message and are apparently reducing their circle or keeping it the same, and the younger folks are out and they're being more exposed and they're testing positive at a higher rate. So that's what we have for COVID today. I know you'll have some questions, and I'll come back and we'll talk about those after I introduce to you Democratic Director for Elections, Ben Borgmeyer, and I'm going to slide off this way and he'll be coming in. Thank you. Ben?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. Good afternoon. My name is Ben Borgmeyer. I'm the Democratic Director at the Board of Elections. And I just wanted to take time to try to convey the environment, the voting environment for tomorrow. So the Board of Elections has taken a lot of measures to ensure that it's a safe voting space. For example, there's been numerous PPE items that we have purchased through grant money, such as plexiglass shields that will separate election workers from voters. There's increased there's face masks available if people need them, also gloves if people would like to wear them. There's also, and I expect the polls to look like they have in the past with those new items. So for example, there'll be signage all over the polling place reminding people to maintain social distancing. There'll also be marks on the floor that will kind of note safe places for people to stand to maintain that social distancing. And so we put measures in place to try to ensure it's as safe as possible. If anyone has any questions, the Board of Elections is open today till 5. We're open all day tomorrow to field questions. There's also a frequently asked questions link that's posted on our website that gives kind of general information about voting. There's also, say some voter is feeling symptomatic and is worried about exposing other people to say whatever. There's the option of curbside voting that is available at all polls. So the 99 polls that are available across metro area, those voters could show up. There's a buzzer outside of the facility. The individual could press the button and they'll be serviced by a team of bipartisan workers working the poll. We ask that function is used in kind of if someone really needs it, because that would require a drain from the polling place for that to be staffed, but it is available to all voters. So we're asking all voters vote. I would also say people are sitting at home with unmailed absentee ballots at this point, absentee or mail-in. Those voters could show up at the polling place with the absentee or mail-in ballot in hand and spoil the ballot at the polls or surrender the ballot and then vote in person at the poll. If anyone has any questions about whether or not we've received your absentee or mail-in ballot, we are open till 5 again today. You can call, all that mail is tracked. We can see whether or not we've received the ballot or not and tell you. Polls open tomorrow at 6 a.m. They'll be open till 7 a.m. We anticipate a good, I apologize, 7 p.m. We expect, if the absentee ballots are any indication of what turnout looks like, people are interested in races this year, so we're expecting a turnout. We're also asking people to be patient. Again, this is a new environment that we're all voting in. We all appreciate that it's very important, and obviously it's a civic process, so we're asking you to be patient and make sure your vote's counted. Thank you.
Perfect. Got any questions for Ben?
A few questions, Ben.
Yes.
Oh,
Hop
okay.
back up there. What is the phone number if somebody wants to call you guys? Oh, I put you on the spot, didn't
Sorry,
I?
I got my personal number if someone wants it.
It's hard to get through an election day.
No, it's true.
If somebody wants to check to see if they have received their
Yes.
mail-in ballot, if that has been received by you, how should they get in contact with you?
So the Board of Election, if you just Google Board of Elections or the phone number, just the main line is 622-4336. The option, you can press either 1 or 3 if it's an absentee question. You'll be directed to a worker. I've been fielding a lot of questions myself over the past couple of days, just looking up voters and making sure that their vote's counted. A lot of voters also get in touch with, say, like their just local representatives. So say their state rep or their alderman. And those people are really good about contacting me, and I love to make outreach like that. So if anyone has any questions, please call. We're open till 5 o'clock today, starting at 8 o'clock tomorrow. Our office will be open. And I think it helps to give peace of mind to people to know that their vote's being counted. And like I said before, all that mail is tracked. So when we mail you a ballot, it goes with a return envelope, and that return envelope is tracked when it's sent back. So we can tell you whether we have it or not.
Have you had to move any polling places this cycle due to COVID-19 concerns?
There have. If the specific locations are on that FAQ, everyone should have received their voting card within the last 2 weeks. If you've not received that voting card, please call the Board of Elections to make sure that we have your updated polling place, or you have your updated polling place. Also, it'd be good if you want to be familiar with the issues and candidates that are on the ballot tomorrow, so to try to make the voting as expeditious as possible, that helps as well. Also, if you intend on presenting ID or that voting card, to have that accessible and ready at the polling place to facilitate processing, that also would be very helpful.
Anything else?
No?
Great
All
job.
right. Okay, thank you very
Thanks,
much.
Ben.
All right.
Thank you, Ben. That was a great job. Appreciate you being here with us today. So I hope that was helpful for everyone. And, the bottom line is, please remember tomorrow's election day. Polls open at 6, close at 7. Voting is the bedrock of our democracy. So appreciate everyone who participates in voting. There we go. As you could tell, Ben's a lot taller than I am, so. Okay, rental and mortgage assistance. So, we talked about this a couple of weeks ago, I think. But through our CARES Act money, the city's CARES Act money, we have allocated $5.4 million to rental and mortgage assistance. We've received literally thousands of applications by now, and we've contracted with 18 different agencies who will help process those applications. But you put the application in online, you can go on our website and do that. So if you have not been able to pay your rent because you got laid off or your hours were reduced because of COVID, then you are likely eligible to receive some rental assistance for that time period when you were laid off. Maybe you're still laid off, I hope not, but I know a lot of people are. And so go online in order to put in an application for that. Those applications will be processed through these various agencies who normally process these applications, and the amount that you're awarded will actually be paid directly to your landlord. Lots of verification goes on. You'll have to probably submit more information. The United Way is also helping with this. But $5.4 million is what we've allocated thus far in order to assist with people paying their rent or paying their mortgages. Now, as you probably know, Congress is talking right now about the next stimulus package. We're very hopeful that they will have something together by the end of this week. And you know, if we are able to get any additional funds directly to the city or even to the city via the state, then, you know, we would certainly put part of that again towards rental assistance and mortgage assistance, because it's so important. We know that the most important thing that we can do is keep people in their apartments, keep people in their homes, and to help people keep their utilities on. Because we know that this is a crisis for many, many people who have been laid off or whose hours have been significantly reduced. So just a reminder about that, those funds. There's also mediation available between the landlord and the tenant, and anybody who is undergoing eviction proceedings, there's mediation available for that as well. So it's our goal to keep you in, to keep everyone in their own housing. So, and I guess the last thing I wanted to talk about just briefly before we go to questions is that last night we had another police officer who was fired upon and was shot in the arm. It looks like he will make a full recovery, according to the information that I have, which we're very happy about that. But what we've seen is that over the last 2 months, we have had 6 police officers shot, actually taken fire. But we've had several other officers. Just last weekend, we had 3 other officers who were fired upon. And, you know, we continue to see this, and I guess I bring it up just to say that, you know, thank you to our police officers who are out there doing a good job for us every single day in a very, very stressful situation. Fortunately, the 2 individuals that fired last night at our officer have been arrested. Unfortunately, sadly, they are juveniles, and so that's all I know about them, because they are juveniles. But it's a very tough situation out there right now. You know that we have a lot of violence going on in our community. There was recently an article this morning, I think it was, in either Washington Post, Wall Street Journal. I read a lot of newspapers, just talking about how almost every major city is seeing a huge uptick in the number of homicides that they're having. Chicago was up 125, I think, over last year. So at any rate, very, very difficult times out there, and really there's a lot of stress and a lot of pain in our community. And that is certainly contributing to the amount of violence that we are seeing in our community. So thank you to our police officers. So, questions?
Couple questions today, Mayor. Kyle, who's watching, wants to know if you can speak on any weekend enforcement of business compliance, and do you know of any any additional businesses that the city will be closing?
You know, I think Kyle is one of our best viewers here because, thank you, Kyle. Or maybe there's more than one Kyle out there who's watching. But yes, we did have enforcement out this weekend. Our excise commission was out on site both Friday and Saturday night. And, you know, I'm happy they went to about 10 or 12 places each night. And they did report a few places where they did not see masks, they did not see everyone in masks, and they didn't see everyone social distancing. And they have made the health department aware of that, and we will reach out to those folks. The goal here is to get compliance. But they also reported on probably at least half of the businesses that they went to. They reported that there were no problems. In other words, people were social distance, people were wearing masks. And that's really good to hear. So no, today, I don't know of any business that, you know, we're expecting to have to shut down. I hope that there aren't any. But you know, we are out there. We just want folks to be safe, and we're just trying to be able to keep businesses open. And you know, that's pretty difficult in this environment that we have with so many rising cases and increases. So, thank you, Kyle.
Chris, who is watching, his question has to do if you could give some direction for businesses about how the mask mandate can be applied to both the nose and the mouth.
Really? Is that hard? Okay, so you put it on one ear, and then you put it on the other ear, and you know, you just make sure it's over both your nose and your mouth. And you know, it was kind of a joke, but it turned out to be true that we're not asking people to wear chin straps. We're asking them to wear masks, and not like this with your nose still out. You know, so you guys know how to do that. Does that answer that question?
I think so.
Or did I miss something in the question?
I think that's good.
Okay.
A couple of schools questions today, Mayor. Mina's question has to do with whether or not you foresee a closure of schools, at least in the first quarter of the school year, or just virtual.
So most schools, all of the St. Louis public schools, are going virtual starting on August the 31st. There are some schools, some charter schools, some independent schools, maybe some parochial schools who are doing a combination of virtual and in classroom. But you know, here we are on the 3rd of August. School doesn't start for a lot of kids for another 2 to 3 weeks. And I know that all the school systems are keeping a very close watch on the numbers, and also keeping a watch on what's happening in other places around the country. We've seen, there were a couple of schools that I read about in Indiana, I think was one, and somewhere else where they were going to open in person, and they did, and now they've got cases. And so I can't tell you what the first quarter of school will bring when you think about that's September and October, roughly, those 2 months. And just like I can't tell you what the numbers will be, but we are taking steps. Hopefully we're all taking steps to keep the numbers down as much as possible. And it really is just mask wearing and social distancing, along with washing your hands. You all know that. Using hand sanitizer when you leave. You go into a store, maybe you go grocery shopping or something, come out, have some hand sanitizer, use that till you can get home and wash your hands. Good. So.
Tori's question, also related to schools, is do you know if there will be any additional funding for hotspots, tablets, Chromebooks, other technology for students?
Yes. So St. Louis Public Schools, I talked with Dr. Adams just last week one day, and they have purchased a lot of hotspots, or acquired, some were donated, a lot of hotspots. And for the kids 8th grade and under, so elementary and middle school age kids, they're all getting either Chromebooks or iPads, that sort of thing. For the high school kids, they're getting laptop computers so that they can keep up with their work. Of course, the older kids need a little more power, perhaps, in their computing than the younger kids. And we are working with them to be sure that everybody who needs a hotspot or internet access is able to get that. There are a lot of people working on that right now, and one of the things that we've said is that, hopefully in this next round of funding from Congress, hopefully there'll be some direct money to schools to cover some of that. That is in a couple of the packages, but I will say this: Congress, they need to get on it, and they need to, we need to know if that funding is coming, because having internet connectivity now it's not a luxury, it's a necessity. And it's a necessity because kids need to do their homework, people need to use telemedicine. You can visit your doctor, and often just via telemedicine. So I hope that Congress gets that done this week.
Just a couple of folks asking Mayor today about eviction moratoriums, and if there have been any conversations about you or the city extending one or creating a new one.
So the city and I don't actually have the ability to put in an eviction moratorium. That is something that happens in the courts, at the circuit courts. We have had conversations with them. I'm not aware that there's anything coming out soon, and that's why we've put the $5.4 million into rental assistance and mortgage assistance, because we don't want anybody to be evicted. But it isn't, the mayor actually doesn't get to decide that legal issue. That's decided by the courts.
A question from Clarissa, Mayor. What efforts by the city are being made to help get people off the streets into shelter to avoid some of the risks that come along with COVID when you're homeless?
Absolutely, Clarissa. Thank you for that question. So we work on homelessness 24/7, or I should say 24 hours a day, 365 days a year, all the time. And anyone who is on the street now who is willing to go into shelter, we will help them get into shelter. Very difficult situation. Not everyone is willing to go into shelter. And one of the things that we hope to do is to be able to provide services to folks when they do go into shelter. And so all of our shelter opportunities do have caseworkers there to help people to maybe get the things that they need to either get employed or to get medical services or treatment or mental health services. So we have many partners in that effort, but the City of St. Louis funds and works on that every day.
All right, we have time for like 2 more questions, almost 2:30. So Michael's question, Mayor, is do you think that for the large venues at 75% capacity is still too high at this point in the pandemic?
I think that it's not about the capacity so much as it is about the social distancing. Because you can have a big room here, and if we're all huddled over here in this corner, then that's not okay. We have to be at least 6 feet apart, and we have to be wearing masks. So when I think of large venues, I think of places like the zoo or the botanical gardens or museums, lots of places like that where there is a lot of space in most of those places, and some of them are even outdoors, which, as you know, is better. And so it's really about social distancing, because we could, if this room has 100-person capacity, we could have all 75 of us down here on this end, and that wouldn't be, that's not the way compliance works. Compliance would work that we'd be spread out at least 6 feet apart.
Last question of the afternoon, Mayor. Jimmy's question is, many people live in the county and work in the city and vice versa, but the restrictions are a little different. Why doesn't the city have the exact same restrictions as the county currently?
Or said in the reverse, why doesn't the county have the exact same restrictions as the city? This is an area where we try to work together and have the same restrictions as much as possible. The city is a little different than St. Louis County in that we have many, I would say most, the majority of the large venues here in the city, and those venues are even larger. So, we're just a little bit different in that regard. We also in the city it's a little denser environment in most cases. And so that's one of the reasons we left our parks open always. We never did close our parks. I know St. Louis County did close theirs. They've reopened them now, but it's just, you have to take into account differences in environment. In my case, I thought it was very important to leave the parks open because we do have a dense environment, and I thought it was really good for people to get out and exercise, take a walk, clear your head, good for your mental health, good for your physical health. So we're just a little bit different.
That's all the time we have for today, Mayor.
Good. Thank you all. Appreciate you being with us today, and we'll be back to visit with you on Wednesday. Let me just close by saying please vote. I hope all of you vote. There are many important races on the ballot tomorrow. Candidate races, as you know, which are very important, but also in the city of St. Louis and across the state, the Medicare issue is on, the Medicaid issue is on the ballot, the expansion of Medicaid. So just vote. There are a lot of important things on the ballot. Go early, be patient, wear your mask, social distance, don't walk right up on the back of that person that's in front of you. Please go vote. Thank you all.